it's Lauren here. A warning, this episode contains deep chats, lots of swear words, and some things you might find upsetting, but you know that we cannot help but overshare.
Hi, it's Gemma.
And Lauren.
And you're listening to Oops, We Overshared Again.
A podcast all about oversharing because we just cannot help ourselves. Hello and welcome back to the podcast.
We are joined today by the very, very lovely Melanie Green, who also happens to be Lauren's mum.
Hello. Hi. We have got Mum on here today because she has very recently published a book, which is, well, pretty cool to be fair. And, you know, we just thought we'd talk about it today and talk about her experiences because her book is mainly about having cancer and no longer having cancer and some of the other things that have kind of gone on in life in the meantime. So we thought it would be an interesting chat. And I think Gemma's got lots of questions.
Oh, good. Far away, Gemma.
That's for welcome. Well, do you want to tell us a bit? I know Lauren's just kind of said there about it, but do you want it in your own words? Tell us what your book's about.
Oh, yeah. Well done, Lauren, because I actually haven't got a copy anymore. My book is But Seriously, Who Knew? And it's about my experience mainly with breast cancer, a few other life bits thrown in. And basically came about because I wrote a blog when I was going through treatment because there was so much I didn't know about cancer. So it was a bit of a learning curve and a steep learning curve.
And you're okay now?
Yes. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, it does kind of spoil the end of the book.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Would have been a lot better if we didn't know if she was going to die. But we know she's okay. Kind of spoils it, doesn't it? But no, I mean, you're okay in that you haven't got cancer.
Yes, absolutely. I haven't got cancer.
Yeah. Well, good. You know, that's what we like to hear. Now, obviously, me and Lauren talk all the time, and we was talking about this, about you coming on and everything else. And first of all, I mean, I think it's amazing that you've written a book and everything else. I actually have health anxiety, is how anxiety shows up for me, and cancer is such a massive trigger for me. So when Lauren said this, she was like, are you going to be okay if we do this? Because we're going to say cancer a lot, and I was like, yeah, no, it's fine. And because my dad's actually got prostate cancer at the moment.
Wow.
So it's all I hear at the minute, to be honest with you. But it's yeah, when Lauren was saying about your book and everything else, and I think as someone that does experience anxiety specifically around that as well, for me, the fact that you have overcome it is almost like I think it's amazing. And the fact that you're using that experience to raise awareness for other people and to help them through what I should imagine is incredibly lonely and very scary time.
Yeah, I mean, me and Lauren were talking the other day about how cancer used to be, and the fact that when I told my mum, her only experience with cancer was people who didn't make it afterwards. She didn't know anyone unless they were distant people that had cancer and got over it. So when I told her I'd got cancer, she probably automatically thought that was a death sentence, as we all still do. That cancer word has still got, you're going to die. And if you don't die, you're very lucky. Whereas it's not, I don't think it's quite like that now. I think you're more unlucky if you die from cancer than if you don't die. The wizards that have got all the meds and everything are just amazing. And yeah, I suppose, I mean, I would never have set out to write a book. It was only because I wrote the blog, and it was my way of dealing with it, really, I suppose. Kind of quite cathartic without sounding too, knobby. Because when your family are around you, you don't always want to talk about it because you don't want them to, I mean, they read the blog, so I kind of did talk about it, but you don't want to, be ladling all your fears on them because you're trying to, I tried to keep happy most of the time. So when I wasn't, I suppose that was an easy way of releasing that sort of fear or anger or frustration or whatever.
How old were you, Lauren?
I don't know. It was 2018. So 26. Yeah, something like that. It was just as I was moving out. So I'd bought my flat, but I didn't live in my flat yet. But there was quite a few there was quite a few months there because there was a lot of work that needed doing to it, so it was within that like period. But yeah, it was at my flat obviously that mum had an accident and therefore checked and found the lump. So it was a big part of it. And interesting, it would have been crazy had that
hang on, you can't skirt over that, because you told me this story the other day.
Oh no, we're going to talk about it.
Pissing yourself laughing.
It was hilarious. Go on, mum.
Yeah. Well, it was, we were sorting out your flat, wasn't there? There was nothing in it, and we were trying to get rid of like Venetian blinds. They were all a bit skank, and there was one that literally went on the floor, and I got my foot caught in the cord, on the cord, and Eddie the Eagle flew through the air and literally face planted the floor. Lauren thought I was dead straight away because I was millimeters away from a concrete filled storage heater.
I thought you banged your head, to be fair, at first.
Yeah. I mean, I hadn't, and I just lay there for a minute. I was just so stunned, and then I started laughing and crying. My knees were killing me, and my first thing I said was, I think I've popped my boob, because I literally forgot I'd got arms and literally landed flat down, and my knees really swelled up literally instantly, didn't they? We were sat there and I didn't really know what to do with myself. And then I'm not sure if it was that night or the next night, and I was laying in bed and I thought, I wonder if I did bruise my boob. I hadn't seen anything, I hadn't looked, and I was lying down, so I just felt, and there was a big lump there that wasn't meant to be there. So again, automatically thought, oh, it's a bruise. So left it about a week or so, and then thought, I don't know if it is a bruise. So yeah, Lauren's blind saved my life, really.
It was hilarious though. It was one of those moments that was like both laughing and crying at the same time, but like laughing to the point where you could wet yourself laughing. Like it was one of those like mixed moments of.
It's a shame it wasn't videoed, really, wasn't it?
It was quite epic.
You could have got 250 quid from you being framed.
I know.
Literally. But yeah, it was crazy that, but obviously I didn't know any of this. I didn't know that she'd found a lump or anything till months later. I didn't know any of this until she knew she had cancer.
Okay.
Yeah, the day I found out, that was the end of April, I think, and then it was the 4th of June when I was diagnosed, and that was the day I told Lauren, told everybody, told Lauren and Kieran. We had no idea that was happening. In fact, Mum was purposely like, I was still at home because it was before I'd moved into the flat, and Mum was literally like pretending to go to work. So we had no idea that was happening. Like she was going to work, then I was going to work, then she was coming home because she wasn't really going to work because she took time off. Like it was that kind of like production. And the night she told us, I remember, because you were obviously nervous about telling us, which we obviously didn't know. I didn't know that Mum wanted to talk to me. And that night, a colleague of mine had offered to go for a Chinese with me, so I ended up being at home maybe 4 hours later than what Mum expected me to be home as well. So it was like dragging it out for flipping ages. And then Kieran still wasn't even home then. We told Kieran later. He'd been home, but I wanted to tell you both. So he was popping to the gym, and then you then came home, realised something was up, so I had to tell you. Kieran thought something was a bit amiss because he'd thought I was acting weird, and he'd heard me and Graham talking in the garden a week or two before about a hospital appointment. Didn't know who it was for or anything. The fact that I was acting weird, he then went, oh, I don't think I'll go home yet, so ended up going to his mates. So it was a very long evening.
Kieran just avoiding. No, I knew the second I came home that something was wrong though, but I hadn't got any inclination that something was wrong until that day. But I knew the second I walked in.
I'm a very good liar.
Then you just
feel like when you used to go to school and tell me you were going to school and then not go to school, you know?
It's just like that.
Yeah. Or you used to go to a friend's and then end up sleeping in the park, you know, that sort of thing.
literally like that.
Yeah. Apart from the fact that I wasn't drinking lots of vodka.
Surely you knew that.
Yeah, of course I did.
Exactly. So it wasn't nothing like that.
I'm not stupid.
Of course, there's nothing like that.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it was it was just no idea until that day, but then completely knew that day without you having to say anything. 100%.
How was it like for you finding out, Lauren?
Hilarious, to be honest. We just it kind of
really didn't give a shit.
No, but we did it. No. It wasn't like that at all. No. Like it would be silly to say it was, because it wasn't it was more so the next day, but it was never like, I don't know. It was never.
You didn't get upset. Kieran did when he then came in.
Yeah, but him and Graham got more upset the whole way through than well, you did, but more than I did.
Yeah.
I think it was just, I don't know. It always just felt like a bit of a joke. And that's how we kind of dealt with it. Like, it just felt like a joke. So it was then how it was like received as well as a joke. So we did like laugh about it from the very second she told me.
Yeah.
There was never that, oh my God, it's going to be this horrendous thing. It was, oh my God, you're going to look like a Mitchell brother very quickly. Like, that was that in that first conversation.
I love that. I love that that's your response.
And I'm going to look like a boiled egg. And there was quite a few other ones.
I don't think I said egg.
You said egg.
That wasn't me. That wasn't me.
It was. Says it in the book. Definitely was.
Well, it says it in the book. You wrote the book. That's not something to.
It says it in the book. Must be true.
I was going to say, you were the one that wrote the book. That's not a fact. I don't remember saying that.
No, you did. You said you're going to look like a boiled egg.
Oh.
Your mum's written it down and it's in the library archive, so it must be true.
I just remember saying that you were going to look like Phil Mitchell, and then you correcting me and saying you'd rather look like Grant.
Yes.
I mean, who wouldn't, right? Grant's definitely the fit one.
Exactly. So Graham was Phil and I was Grant.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make you Peggy, Lauren?
Peggy stayed as she was in the photo. There's an image, there's a graphic where I photoshopped Mum and Graham's faces onto Phil and Grant.
You missed a trick, not photoshopping your own face onto Peggy's
again. That was
body.
probably, well, I don't want to be their mum. That's just weird.
Okay, but I think you'd make a good Peggy.
Yeah, well, but yeah, no, that was like, I think the next day that I made that.
It was very soon. It was ready for the Facebook announcement, so it might have been a week or so afterwards, because I kind of wanted to tell everyone before they saw me walking down the street with no hair. But
we had a long time before you were able to tell your mum.
Yeah,
because she was on holiday.
Oh no!
So there was like a week kind of in between time where we had to be really careful what was said, because it was like it couldn't get back. Obviously, it wouldn't have anyway, but it was just being a bit careful.
Did you appreciate reactions like Lauren's, like people sort of?
Yeah, better than that, better than them staring and not knowing what to say, or saying things like, which I had from a colleague, my mum had breast cancer, so I can empathise. And I was like, oh God, that's really bad, but thank you. Oh, but she's got secondary breast cancer now. She's got it in her brain. She's going to die. She's terminal. Fucking brilliant. Thank you. And then another colleague on the same day saying, oh, I had a friend who had breast cancer, but she's okay now. She had to go through it 3 times, but she's okay now. Great. Lovely.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I think it's that thing though, that I think a lot of people can't just let you have an experience without making it about themselves. And I think that especially is for awkward things like cancer, like another one I always notice is miscarriages. If ever you say you've had it, oh yeah, my brother's dog had a miscarriage, like as if that's the same thing. Like it's always like a really obscure, or you get the people that are like, well, you think that's bad? I had a miscarriage and it was for 5 babies, or something really elaborate that's not obviously true.
Yeah.
But it's the same, I think, with anything like that. And even anything that I think makes people feel a bit awkward or like they don't know what to say, it's almost just don't make it about you.
Yeah, just say you don't know what to say. I think a lot of it comes out of kindness. Even the nurse, I was telling the friend that I met up with a coffee today, even the nurse, one of the nurses in the chemo ward, told me that her mum had it twice, but she was doing okay now. I'm literally on my 1st or 2nd session of chemo, and you're telling me I'm going to have to do this all over again. No.
You'd almost just rather and be like, I hope you get better soon.
Or just, I don't know.
Or just
shut up.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
Cool. Mitchell brother.
It was no, but it was like I genuinely, like, I don't know if like you would agree with that, but I feel like it did help, like in the sense that it was it was such a freaking dark few months. Yeah. In that chemo section, especially the chemo was really, really hard. That's, and especially the second type of chemo that you had, it was like, I think we realized very quickly, like within a week or so, that every single conversation we had was about cancer, and we couldn't keep doing that. Like I got to a point where I would walk in and Mum would quite obviously look ill, and I wouldn't ask like, how are you feeling? Because it was just like, she feels shit. Like, how many times can we fucking say it? Like, do you know what I mean? It gets to a point where it's like redundant. So instead it's like, let's go in and just complain about something normal. We'll talk about something normal. And if she wants to tell me how she's feeling, she'll tell me. But there's only so many times she can either pretend to feel all right or tell me that she feels shit. It just became.
There was a quote in, I can't remember exactly what it is, so you might have to look it up in the book. Where in your chapter, and you said something about it's not about kicking someone when they're down, it's about not kicking them when they're down, something like that.
I feel like Lauren should have proofread her chapter before you put it in there, because she doesn't seem to have a clue what she said.
I haven't read my chapters.
It was a long time
Have you read
ago.
any of it?
I proofread all of it,
but not your own chapters.
No, because that was later.
Yeah, they got written later.
I think it was in that chapter rather than, or maybe it was in the blog one that you wrote.
What
Can't
chapter
remember.
did I write? What was it called?
But Mum, seriously, it might have been in that one.
Oh, chapter 15. Who knew?
I can't remember if it was that one or in the last chapter you wrote, but I think it might have been in that one.
It wasn't in the last one, so I read that the other day. I forgot.
There we go.
What did I say?
Something about it's not about kicking someone when they're down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in other words, you carried on being a shit to me all the way through cancer, like you normally are.
Well, it's like not changing your behaviour thing, though.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree, totally. It's
Because
about not pussyfooting around and I don't know, treading on eggshells.
Yeah,
keeping that normality there.
It just. What did you say?
Keeping that normality there, I guess.
Yeah, no, it literally is, because it's so like draining to constantly, like, the whole situation is draining, but then when you're talking about it all the time as well, it's just like it's impossible. And like there were times where it was really shit, and like, you know, you felt absolutely horrendous, and it was like, I don't know, talking about it ain't going to make it any like, I realize that it's nice to be able to, but talking about it all the time also isn't going to make it any better. So that's where I think that kind of
definitely
came from.
How did your brother react?
He was definitely, I think, more so reality about what was happening, I think. Would you say that, Mom?
Yeah, I think he got more upset and he was very concerned. He asked me how I was every day. I think, but he...
No, but I know that everybody did.
Yeah, he did that, but then kind of disappeared quite a bit, you know, because he was obviously still at home as well. So he would have a chat for a couple of minutes and then be in the room. But then that's what he would normally do. If he suddenly started sitting with me watching telly, I'd have honestly thought I was dying, and they knew more than I did. So yeah, they just carried on as normal, really. But you know,
well, I moved out pretty much as soon as Mum got her diagnosis, because obviously the flat had already been bought.
Of course.
So I moved out.
We'd got the cats as well, which were making me feel incredibly sick with the litter trays and stuff. So
yeah, because they were only babies.
Yeah.
So I so I moved out within weeks after. So yeah, it was only me seeing you as and when, like, I popped round, which wasn't always that often, because I remember I got quite a few colds and stuff that summer, and obviously any illness at all, you can't be near someone that's having chemo.
Oh, you can't?
No.
Your immune system's so low that it could make you really ill, and temperature, having a high temperature is one of the things you've got to be really careful of, because you can get sepsis and then basically die. So you've got to be really careful. I mean, now obviously with COVID it's worse, but it was bad enough then. I still had to stay away from people. I couldn't go to work because I worked in a college and there was too many people there who was going to have illnesses and stuff. So certain jobs you can carry on working, but they said to me, no, you've got to be at home. So, but
I think as well, they also said, like, if you got a cold or something, they wouldn't do chemo.
No, I had to stay well. Yeah, true.
So it would have delayed actual treatment as well.
True.
So it just wasn't worth it. I remember having a sickness bug when Mum was ill, and I also remember just having colds and just staying at the flat. So it was a good job I was at the flat for that.
You struggled a bit though, didn't you, moving out, thinking that once you moved out, the world was going to think you didn't need me anymore?
I thought you were going to die because I moved out. I definitely did. I thought that there was this like weird thing of, that like something like greater than us whatever it is, would be like, yeah, you don't, it was almost like you don't need your mum anymore because you've moved out, you're fine, you're all good. So now would be a good time to take her. Like that was kind of, and Kieran was like fine, do you know what I mean? Like I know he was living at home, but he was at a point where he was like thinking about buying a house and stuff. He didn't, not long afterwards. So I think it was just, yeah, I don't know. I did worry about it. I definitely did. But I'm glad Kieran was there.
Yeah.
That made it easier, I think.
And she was fine.
Spoiler again. I'm fine. No,
when you watch Titanic, you know the ending already, don't you? But you still watch it.
That's why when Lauren was proofreading, she was like, "Mum, I know the end. It's really boring."
I know the whole story. I know all of it. It's like reading a book where you literally know every single thing that happens because you're like, I was there. Like it doesn't make for the most interesting story for me. However, it is a good story for other people. It's just more so for me, it's not the most interesting because it was all there. And the title of it, they're like, but seriously, who knew, is all just about all the weird stuff, isn't it? About all the weird stuff that you didn't expect or we didn't expect.
I was talking to this friend today who is actually a nurse, and she didn't know. She's read the book over the last few days. She didn't know that your head hurts when you lose your hair. She didn't know. She's a nurse. Yeah. You'd expect her to know. I didn't know, but she didn't know either. So,
in what bit? Like it just
where the hair goes in.
Yeah,
the holes.
Your follicles all get inflamed. So every time you move your hair, I don't know why I'm doing that, in case you don't know what moving hair is. Every time you move your hair, it hurts. So lying on the pillow, just moving your head, just like knives going in your scalp. I mean, so painful, to the point where the night I started losing a little bit of hair. I'd lost fan wire hair already. That was the first to go.
Lost the what?
The fan wire hair. You know.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I wasn't sure what I thought you said then, but that wasn't it. But that's cool, yeah.
What was it?
The thing is, as well, as a bit of a misconception. Obviously, when you say it like that, clearly you lose hair everywhere. You must be like a fucking dolphin by the end, right?
Yeah, totally.
But exactly. When you think of it logically, you're like, oh well, you just lose like your hair. You don't think of the fact that you lose it everywhere.
I lost every single hair on every bit of my body.
Mum's barely still got eyelashes.
Yeah, I haven't. Or eyebrows, really, they're drawn on. But the fan wire hair was the first, and then the head hair was just under 2 weeks after my first chemo. And we were staying away, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, I couldn't bear it any longer. So Google was my friend, and I found out I needed to shave the bastard off. So I went back home, didn't I, in the morning, and you went, well, I'll do it for you. And I was like, are you sure? Like, quite momentous. I'd already had it cut, so it was short. And but she shaved it off. Kieran was there as well, and luckily my head was in okay shape. And actually it was fine then, but it still carried on growing through a bit. So I had to keep wet shaving it because every time there was a little bit of hair, it hurt. But it hurt when it rained.
When the hair's gone, the pain stopped.
The pain stopped immediately. But the minute it grew back a bit and you've got a little bit to rub on the pillow, because it kept on, I suppose what was already there would grow back through until I'd lost it all. But yeah, even rain on my head hurt, where it was obviously so tender. If it was just spitting with rain, it would hurt.
I remember being in the range. We went shopping to the range, and must have been towards the end, because otherwise you wouldn't have been up to go into the range. But you had no hair, or it was towards the beginning. Maybe it was at the beginning.
More the beginning, yeah.
Because so you know, Gem, she had 8 chemo, and the first 4 were nowhere near as brutal as the second 4, because she had 2 different types of chemo, and the second 4 were like the really horrendous. Like when you see the photos of her, they're from like the second 4.
Right.
But so it was probably at the beginning. But we went to the range, and I remember it started raining while we were in there, and I had to like go and get the car and bring it to the front because she couldn't walk across the car park because it was hurting her head.
Pathetic, but you know,
you
were pathetic. I remember at the time being like, Mum, stop being a lazy bitch, let's go. Like, I've got to go get the freaking car. But no, it is like the most random shit, and it was just constant. And then having the flipping line across your head where like, we all get a tan where our parting is, So when you lose all your hair, you've got like a brown line up your head, which you just don't really think about, but completely makes sense.
That does make sense.
And just random stuff like being able to taste knife and forks. Like that was the one that I always thought was really weird. You couldn't use metal cutlery because you could taste them.
But it just was metally anyway. Yeah. Just everything tasted metally and disgusting, and it was the weird Aunt Sally cheeks and the rashes and just some really random shit.
Yeah. Is there any good things? I know it might sound like a really weird question. Does any good come out of it?
Oh, loads of goods come out of it.
Apart from not having cancer, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, things like not having to shave your legs or your armpits, great. Not up to going out so nobody sees your, armpits and your legs. Good stuff. I suppose it's just altering your perception on life a little bit. Hasn't made me want to do like jump off cliffs or, jump out of airplanes or anything, but it's made me just go a little bit, I don't know what's around the corner, so let's not say no to everything, because my natural is to say no to things, like going on podcasts, or I don't know, just doing this talk the other evening that we did, or my boobs splat, loads of stuff. I would go, no, I don't want to do that. But now I'm a bit like, I don't feel comfortable. I don't like doing it, but actually, so what? What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
So it's made me a bit more adventurous, I suppose.
I must admit, like, obviously Lauren talks about you all the time, and the stuff that she says, and about as much as she talks about you, you can tell how proud she is of you, and the stuff that she says and how the way she describes you just come across as this larger than life, very, very adventurous, very brave woman. And yeah, it's I don't know how much of that is because of what you've experienced with all this, or how much of that was because obviously just how you were before.
I don't know, Lauren.
I think a bit of both. I think there's parts. I mean, it's, again, I speak about that in my chapter that I do know that I wrote. But it's, to be fair, the one she's talking about, I wrote when she had cancer.
Yeah, you did.
So I haven't written it recently. I wrote that on her blog and then she put it in the book. That's why I don't know the chapter. But the the one I wrote recently, I did speak about this. I think there's bits where Mum is incredibly not brave, as am I not. Very different things, but like just as illogical things, like all you've got to do is try and FaceTime my mum and watch her like want to die. Like it's so intense fear, it's ridiculous. But then there's always been that part that's been brave in just like other stuff, I think, like just wanting to do new things, try new things, like going to, like we went to uni at the same time. We both graduated in the same week. She graduated I think 2 days before I did. It's just those sorts of things that I guess not many parents do.
That's really brave. That's awesome. That's, following your dreams is incredible.
Yeah, I think it's not settling, is it, as well? That's, I suppose, what I don't want to settle. If I'm not happy, I've always had that. I mean, you forget and you worry about the ironing and the grass needs cutting or whatever, but it's not forgetting that life is very short. And if you're not happy, then do something about it. Don't just keep continuously. I moaned about it for years, not being happy. And eventually I did something about it. And I think since then I've kind of thought, I'm not going to put up with it for years, not being happy. I'll just do something about it.
But you did do other stuff years before. I know you moaned about that for years later, but you also, like, when we were at primary school, went and trained to be a hairdresser because that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't have to go and do that. Like, it was still something else that you were, hang on, no, I'm not happy doing what I'm doing. I'm going to go and train and do something else. And yes, then you became unhappy with that, but it was a hard thing to go to uni as well, because you had to go back to college to be able to go to uni and stuff as well. It wasn't just going to uni because you didn't have any qualifications to go to uni.
No, exactly. No, true.
So it was a long, so I was at uni for 4 years and Mum was at uni for 3 years, but she started college the year I started uni, so we ended up doing 4 years together. So
I just didn't want it all to be about Lauren. I wanted to graduate as well. I wanted to be the first in our family to graduate. Guess what? I was. I mean, should we talk about the percentage as well.
Was it like 0.5?
Less than that. I think it was about 0.2 more I got from than you.
She got her percentage, so they give you like a percentage grade when you graduate, and mum got like 0.2% higher than me or something like that.
I did. Yeah.
So
And graduated 2 days before you.
And I started uni before you, but you finished before me.
I mean, I love the competition.
Oh, sorry, I want my child to do really well.
Just not as well as me.
Yes.
But no, that was a really interesting thing though, because obviously, like, I was one of the only, and I went to uni late, not late, but I was nearly 21 when I started uni, so I was like the oldest in my house, other than I maybe 2 people when I started uni. I realize that sounds like quite a lot, but there were 12 people in our house, so I was one of the very oldest. But then obviously mum was obviously a lot older than everybody she went, but her friends were younger than me because of that as well. So it was like a really funny dynamic, like of her friends all being 18, and then me coming home, because she went to uni in Norwich, so she was close by, she travelled every day. But like me coming home, like we had a night once, didn't we? I can't remember, with the 2 Katies, and they were both like 2-3 years younger than me, probably still are. So
Funny how that works.
But you know, it was a funny dynamic that like mum's friends were like my friends, but also younger than me, and like it was a funny one.
Yeah,
that's still really cool though.
It was. I mean, I look back now and think, oh my god, I went to uni.
I think that about myself, to be honest. I don't know why anyone would do it. Jesus Christ, it was such hard work.
No, don't look at me. I don't have a degree.
I never thought I'd get a degree. Like, that's bloody mental. Yeah.
And yet you did.
Yes, you did. Both of you.
Yes.
Indeed.
I got a BSc though, so it's a bit higher than Lauren's as well. This was only a BSA, you know.
Just a BSA? What's a BSA? Did you just say you're smarter than me?
BA.
There we go. You really fucked that one up there. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Oh, stop it! I'm having a hot flush. I can't.
You made yourself look a right knob.
I'm literally having a hot
flush. I
don't
think she'll edit that out either, Melanie. She won't. And in fact, she'll use this as a blooper against you. I know from experience.
And now she's using her flipping hot flushes as an excuse.
Yeah, I am having a hot flush. And it's National Menopause Day today, so you know, give me a break. Yeah, apparently I've just seen it on Instagram.
I was telling Gemma the other day, because menopause came up the other day when we were recording another episode, which is still yet to come out if you're listening now, about cycles and things, and we spoke about menopause, and I was telling Gemma how menopause was like an important thing in your recovery, I guess, from cancer, and like the fact that was brought on, which I think, like, I don't think people would necessarily know that could have anything to do with it.
No, exactly. Well, it's because Mike, again, there's so many different types of breast cancer, and I certainly don't know half of them, but mine was hormone fed, so they needed to block my hormones basically to help prevent the cancer come back. So but they started my induced menopause a bit earlier because chemo was mucking up my cycles and making me feel really lousy in that way, and I used to really suffer, didn't I, with like heavy periods and lots of pain and whatever. So I ended up having injections for a couple of years to bring on my menopause. What
about the injections?
Zoladex injections
in your stomach.
Yeah,
sorry, that's not Gemma's thing.
Sorry, Gemma, but there's a picture on the website, so don't look at it. But it was like a big, I mean, Graham even winced at the needle, but it was more like a tube. You know, like the implant that you had in your arm. It's that sort of thing, I think, that goes in your stomach.
Nice.
Yeah, so it wasn't very pleasant, but it stopped my periods. It was brilliant, but brought on the menopause. I'm very jealous whenever I see anyone wearing a jumper, because I can't wear jumpers anymore. This is even too much, really. I'm roasting, but I'm not taking it off.
What is the most random thing someone has ever said to you when you've said, like, I've got cancer?
I don't know if it's random. One person asked if I'd survive.
I know what the most random thing that somebody said to me is.
Oh,
I know exactly what you're going through. My boyfriend broke up with me once.
I might guess who that is.
Yeah, I think you can guess who that was. But yeah, that's the most random thing somebody said to me.
Yeah, I think people pussyfoot around, but someone did say to me, "Will you survive?" I bloody hope so, yeah. But I don't really know how to answer that.
Get me fucking crystal ball out, shall I?
Yeah.
I know.
Well, it was not a very nice, well, not that any is, but it was not a very nice cancer either, was it? It was like
aggressive.
in the kind of early stages, it was kind of a bit of a scary type of cancer to have, in that they said very early on that it's a super aggressive type of cancer.
Yeah. And things like losing my hair, I knew was going to happen. There was no point in trying to do anything to save it. So I knew it was going to be pretty rough, but it was, yeah. But now it's a bit of a dream world again. Now I'm back to, oh shit, really? Did it happen? And it won't happen again because, you know, it can't happen again. But, you know, clearly it can.
You'll be all right.
Nah, you'll be all right.
You'll be all right.
Gemma, the doctor in the corner over there.
Yeah. That it was like, we sent her an aggressive one and she was like, fucking come on. He's like, nah, save it.
We'll just send her a few other things now.
They'll be like, nah, leave her be.
Well, they're not doing a very good job at that, to be honest.
No, they're not, are they?
No, they don't say to that.
No, it's all in the book.
Oh, well, I'll read it.
That's why it's cancer. You do know about her brain tumour and stuff. Do you not know that?
No.
Oh, Mum's got a brain tumour. She's got a big fucking brain tumour in her head.
Oh, okay. You know, we talk every day.
I thought you would know that.
Did you not mention that, Lauren? Hello? Benign, not cancerous.
Well, good.
But quite big.
Very big, yeah.
Are they going to take it out? Or?
Not at the moment, no. Because it's right in the middle, literally right in the middle. So they won't take it out unless it starts causing me loads of problems.
Oh, well, maybe it's
giving
you extra brain power. You never know.
I don't know how it fits in though, because there's so much brain stuff in there. I don't know how it's fitting in there.
Maybe it's part of your brain. No?
I don't have many empty spaces in my brain.
How big is it, Mum?
3.2 by 1.5 centimeters.
Yeah, that's quite big. You wouldn't think there was that much space in there either, would you? You don't expect there to be much space because it's a skull, right? So
I mean, it's right in the middle, so it's not pushing on the skull, it's just wrapping itself around nerves and stuff. In fact, I ought to put that on the website, I suppose. The thing is, picture Gem.
Yeah, go on, go.
The thing is as well, though, it's grown with her because they think she's had it since before she was born. So it's.
So can you see that?
Point to it. Yeah.
Grey bit there.
Yeah.
That's the brain tumour.
The lighter bit or the darker bit?
The lighter bit. So yeah, that bit that kind of goes in a bit of a weird space like that.
How did you find out?
Because I thought I'd had a mini stroke, and look at my wang eyes that Lauren nicely pointed out, because she's a nice girl.
Look how dodgy they look.
I mean, I've got wang eyes, but look how wang they look in the scan at the top.
One of them's a lot bigger than the other one.
They're your eyes?
Yeah, my eyes at the top.
They're eyeballs. Can you not see the front of her eye?
Yeah, but one's really small, one's really big.
Well, it's obviously a bit of a funny angle, Gem.
Yeah, definitely. But I didn't realise that was your eyes. That's cool.
They're my eyes. I thought I'd had a mini stroke because half my face went a bit numb one day and stuff. So they did a scan, because that's the good thing about that's another good thing about having cancer. Every time you get anything wrong, they go, quick, let's scan and check you, make sure you've not got cancer again. So I hadn't had a stroke, but interestingly, as the bloke said, we found something else. Not that interesting, but you know, and then they found that.
Wow. I mean, I suppose if he's not doing you any harm apart from the odd bit of numbness, it's probably better off to leave it there then, right?
And I nearly did fall over at the Alex today because it went a bit dizzy. Everyone thought I was a bit drunk, but I wasn't.
Yeah, it definitely has a little bit of stuff, because obviously that's why you went and got it done and stuff. Yeah. You get headaches.
Yeah.
Quite bad headaches. And stuff like that. But yeah, that's why it's my cancer and other bits story. Because there's that, and then there's a few things that the cancer drugs have given her a bunch of other problems as well.
Oh, okay. You know, the gift that keeps on giving, right?
It is absolutely what it is. Yeah. Cancer and its little joys.
Yeah, it does.
But hey, I'm alive. Just to bug everyone a bit longer.
Can I just very quickly, Mum, before we go, just touch on really quickly, because that has just actually reminded me. You in regards to talking to other people that maybe either have cancer or know people that have cancer, talking on your thoughts in regards to the fact that you beat cancer, and that, can you just
the language,
how you feel about that? Because I think actually for some people that have either lost somebody or that know somebody that either is quite likely not going to make it, or they know isn't going to make it, or it's still uncertain, like what your kind of thoughts are on that.
everyone to their own, and everyone uses the language that helps them and get them through. A lot of people use warrior and fighter, and survivor is fine, but I find a lot of the language a bit uncomfortable for me, because to say I fought cancer, yeah, I kind of, I didn't know, the doctors did, and no matter how much I fought wouldn't have determined whether I lived or not. I was talking to someone earlier today and saying a positive attitude won't cure you, won't, you know, people go, oh my God, it's because your positive attitude got you through. No, it didn't. My positive attitude might have helped with my days that were bad, so I didn't get really depressed with it. It didn't stop me dying or save me, and nor did how much I put up a fight. I was just lucky. So some of the language I find really difficult. I don't really agree with it, because I don't think the people who died didn't put up a fight, if that's what we want to call it. They fought just as hard and were just as positive to start with, but it didn't save them. Cancer just chooses who it takes and who it doesn't. So yeah.
I just wanted to mention that quickly, because I think it's a weird one, and knowing people as well that have lost parents or close people to them that have, like, through cancer, it is that thing, I think, of it's that hard thing of everybody trying to be really nice and positive, and I think sometimes, like you say, it's helpful, but it's also that thing of, like, it's no one's fault if it doesn't go well. And
does
it's
it
like,
belittle their fight? That's the thing. Does it mean that they didn't try to stay alive?
And so what if they were negative the whole way through it? They had cancer, like, they were allowed to be.
Yeah, as I say, positive thought just helps your mood while you're going through it, I suppose. But there were times when I wasn't positive. I mean, I can remember Graham watching YouTube videos of Croatia and saying, we'll go there next year. I don't know if I'll be here next year. I need you to stop watching them and stop talking about next year, because I can't cope with thinking about next year right now. So yes, that positivity was not there all the time, but most of the time I managed to laugh and find the funny in everything. But I did find it a bit uncomfortable, and I probably do even more so now, just knowing that not everybody else manages to have the luck that I had to get through it. Yeah, I wasn't lucky to have it, I was lucky to get through it.
I think the thing is, though, when you see people that have had cancer, some people that perhaps have survived, some perhaps that haven't, and you sort of, there is so many different versions of events, so many different people's opinions on things as well, and you do get blimey, like Tesco's have got a whole Race for Life, a whole thing, like an assault course you can do to beat cancer and all that. So I think there is definitely that dialogue around it, and that whereas I've got people that I follow on Instagram and things like that, and they're very much a very holistic approach to things, and they're like probably the complete polar opposite to that kind of language. But I think it is very interesting, like you say as well, a different spin on it of, well, then what about the people that died? Like, it's not that they didn't put up a fight. No. It's not that they didn't want to live. And I think it is understanding that as well, isn't it? The fact that it's not just as straightforward as having that fighting spirit, perhaps. And I think the other thing is that you don't need necessarily to feel like you're at constant battle or a constant war, because that's also not maybe going to help you, and not going to, you need to save your energy for what's going on, not thinking like you're constantly at war with yourself, or that there's something in you that needs to be fought. No,
and it's a bit like with October, Cancer Awareness Month. There's obviously I follow a lot of people on Instagram and stuff that are in that world, and a lot of people find it incredibly difficult, because it's all of the, we're all going, oh my God, it's amazing, and be aware and whatever, and people who are in the moment are so finding it hard to deal with just their everyday life. I don't know, it's all too much for them, being shoved in their face and stuff like that. And I think we need to be a little bit more aware of that it's, and I wasn't really until even this month, when people were saying, oh, we're struggling with it. Oh shit. Again, a bit like one of my friend's daughters shaved her hair. I shaved her hair for her to raise money for cancer, and she Teenage Cancer Trust, and she donated her hair as well. But again, if you see people on these, like the Macmillan Shave Your Head or Brave the Shave or whatever, there's so many people going, how can you possibly know what it feels like? I've had cancer, I've lost my hair. Well, I don't think any of those people think they know what's tied up in losing your hair because you've got cancer. But actually, if you can raise some money and raise a bit of awareness, then what's the harm? I think it's quite a brave thing. None of these bastards came out and shaved their hair with me.
Do you know, to be fair though, I donated my hair 5 years ago, not shaved. My hair was longer than it is now, and I went to a bob, but I donated it to the Little Princess Trust.
Yeah.
And not just for cancer, obviously, that is just kids that need wigs that have lost their hair to a whole array of different different causes. But people do assume constantly, don't they? And it's like that thing of oh, who do you know has got cancer then? What? No, just wanted to do a nice thing.
Yeah,
like, get off my case. But I think people, there always has to be a connection, doesn't there? And then they get offended if there's not, or get offended if you're assuming that you understand something, if you're trying to show a bit of empathy. And
I mean, I thought she was very brave, and I just thought she's raised £1,500 for Teenage Cancer Trust.
Yeah,
I mean, to me, that's amazing. Does it matter what she did? She didn't think she knew what I felt like when I had to shave my hair. And I'm sure nobody does. Oh yeah, well, I understand because I shave my hair. No, you don't. Of course you don't.
Yeah. But don't you think some people just like to get the ump for the sake of having the ump, to be honest with you?
Piss me off massively. Yes.
Absolutely. Oh, there's me. I was just attaching more hair in. Mum's losing her hair. I'm going for a hair extension appointment later.
At least the dog went bald for me.
He did, yeah. So our dog went bald at the same time as Mum.
And we found out afterwards that was cancer, to be fair.
Yeah.
Oh.
Just like in random patches.
Nice.
Like a bald bit on his back.
Like sympathy alopecia.
Yes.
Yeah.
It ended up being testicular cancer. So once we chopped his bits off, he was fine.
It grew back.
It grew back. Well, that's good to know.
It did grow back. But yeah, he lost his hair, but nobody else did. They all went, nah.
Well, if nothing else, at least you can rely on the dog.
To be fair, yours grows back very slowly now.
Yeah, it does. And it's in shit condition. But
the menopause for you now, isn't it? Because
menopause and chemo hair and everything else, yeah.
I'm in awe, to be fair.
Yeah, don't.
No, I think he's awesome. But the fact you've written a book and everything as well, I think he's incredible.
Yeah, thank you.
It is very cool.
You two are very similar as well, I must say. Your mannerisms are very, very similar.
She's very lucky, isn't she?
People say that a lot. I think it's people do. But you can get the book pretty much. Well, you can get it at Amazon, or if you're in America, you can get it at Barnes and Noble.
I know.
Oh, nice.
That's very posh, isn't it?
Yeah. You may be able to get it at other places at some point. I don't know, but you can find the link on my website actually if you want to go there, because it's probably easiest, or you can just type it into Amazon. But seriously, who knew?
Can't we link it under the podcasting in the description as well?
Yeah, we can pop it in there as well. Yeah. So yeah, feel free to go and have a look at it. It's pretty good. Thanks for coming on, Mum.
That's all right. Thanks for having me, girls.
Oh, it's been lovely. Thank you.
Yeah, we will link the book and all of that stuff. Go and check it out. It's quite a nice one, because even though it does go into like proper detail, it's quite a nice story in that it does turn out well.
Wow, who knew?
There you go. Who knew indeed.
Who knew?